going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Hills Are Silent podcast. I'm Two-Tone the Artist.
And I am Mitch the Peach.
And here we like to chop, gut stab, neck slice it up about the games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. You know, we had a nice holiday episode last week. There's a few things we did not get to cover, so we will be talking about that on this episode. Mainly what we played while we were in Peoria together, hanging out. For those who don't know, Mitch and I are originally both from Peoria, Illinois. We went back for the holidays to see family, spend Christmas there. And of course, we hung out, picked up a bunch of games from the local retro game store there. You can check that out on our last episode. And we also got together with our man Swanee and played some video games. So, originally, our plan was to have a nostalgic GameCube jam session in Mitch's dad's basement. Because that's what we used to do as kids. We always hung out in the basement playing video games, and that was the era of the GameCube. However, it was a very busy weekend, and Mitch and I only had one opportunity to get together and play games. And we ultimately decided to go over to Swanee's house to hang out with him, keep him company while he wrapped Christmas gifts, and play some games. Now, unfortunately, we just kind of went on a whim, did not bring the GameCube, but of course, Swanee has a massive game collection, so there's plenty there we could choose from. And instead of picking up the GameCube, we went back one more generation and played some Nintendo 64. When I saw his Nintendo 64 collection, that was it. I was like, that's what we're playing, man.
Yep.
So he had the console, he had two controllers, a stack of great games. Great games. Classics. So it took us a while to get it working on his modern television, but I will say that a lot of people talk down about playing old consoles on modern TVs without the use of like an upscaler or something to help translate the image to a flat screen TV, but really just plugging the yellow, red, and white cord into the back of the HD TV looked good to me. I don't know what everyone's talking about, because that was more than sufficient. The games looked great. They've aged very well. Mm-hmm. Mitch, what was the first game we jammed on?
Yep, the first game we jammed on was an absolute classic. They have made many iterations after, but the 64 one is one of the better ones, and it is Mario Golf. And I will say that is probably the one I was most competitive on out of all of them that we played together. But it was cool that Swanee even got to join in on us and play as well. Even though we had two controllers, it was easy to pass the controller off so Swanee could get a turn too while he was wrapping his Christmas presents.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about these old consoles, especially old Nintendo consoles. They were built for multiplayer. So not only can you do split screen in a lot of games, but Nintendo went as far as allowing you to pass the same controller around between turns. So we were able to play 3-player multiplayer on Mario Golf, even though we only had two controllers. I'm just like, this is great. This is really accommodating. Yeah. Because if you're a kid back in the day and all your buddies come over and maybe you only have one controller, you still want to play a multiplayer game. And this totally allows that. And yeah, like Mitch said, we were very competitive on this Mario Golf, and it's really cool to see the beginning of so many great Nintendo franchises.
Yeah.
So a lot of things originated on the Nintendo 64, or a generation before that, Super Nintendo, or even going back to the original Nintendo NES. Because actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Mario Golf did not start on the Nintendo 64. I remember there being a Mario Golf game on the original Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember that, honestly.
And it was good. They're all good. This game, man, we got sucked right in. The graphics were great. The level design was just fun. Everything. The game mechanics were surprisingly deep. Not only do you like wind up your shot, pick pick like the angle of how you're going to hit the ball or the power you're going to hit the ball. You can switch your clubs, and there's just all kinds of factors that you can adjust before you take your shot. And I don't remember that game being that deep as a kid. Maybe because I couldn't wrap my child mind around that, but now going back as an adult, dang, they put a lot of depth into the gameplay.
They even had some of those like PGA Tour stuff, like in those actual like golf games, like the front spin and the back spin on stuff that you could even mess with. Like, yeah, surprisingly super in-depth game for being a Mario sports game.
Yeah, and I almost won. I crushed you guys on the first course. I crushed you guys on the third course. But that second course, man, I did so horrible that it set me back. And then you were like, slow and steady wins the race. You did decent on each of the 3 courses, and you were able to surpass me and win the Mario Golf.
Yeah, we were all competitively bad, I think is the way to go. I think every hole we were like, I think we only parred maybe one of the holes. The other ones we were like 5 over, or like just we're all in the rough, we're all in the sand traps, but we had a lot of fun, and it didn't matter.
Yeah, man, I definitely need to pick up Mario Golf on Nintendo 64. Like, that game is too classic. I'm just so surprised how well a lot of these games have aged. So along those same lines, the next game we played was Mario Tennis. And again, they're still making Mario Tennis games. And again, I think Mario Tennis started before the Nintendo 64. I don't know. I can't remember if there was a Mario Tennis game on the original Nintendo or the Super Nintendo, but there definitely was one on the Virtual Boy, because I remember having that as a kid. Yeah, and I'm not sure if that one came out before or after the Nintendo 64 one, because I think the Virtual Boy came out around the same time as the N64. I don't know. Anyway, regardless, Mario Tennis, man, yeah. I felt like as the night went on, our competitiveness just kept ramping up. Like, you and I were neck and neck in Mario Tennis, and we were really going at it. That one...
Honestly...
Go ahead.
That one was probably my favorite one of all the ones we played. I don't know what it is, but yeah, Mario Tennis, like that one, I think that one held up the best out of all the games that we played. Like, that plays excellent. Like, probably one of the better tennis games out there, even modern tennis games. That they stopped creating tennis games, honestly, because, I mean, what's better than Mario Tennis?
I gotta say, I don't think I've ever played tennis in real life. But tennis video games, yeah, are surprisingly really fun. Because I loved Mario Tennis on Nintendo 64. I played hours and hours of that back in the day. And then I remember a friend coming over right after he had gotten the Xbox 360. And this is before any of us in my friend group had played Xbox 360. So he brought it over, and he brought this game, Virtua Tennis.
I do remember that one.
And he was like, let's play this. And it was just so out of left field. We're all like, Virtua Tennis, why do you even have this game? But he convinced us to play it. And we were sucked in immediately. Like, that was a really good game.
So I could be wrong here, but I think Virtua Tennis was one of those things where they split it into one disc with 2 games on it. And I think Virtua Tennis was one of them. And there was like something that was... I don't know, something that was even cooler, like on like the other end of the disc, and I can't remember what it is. I could totally be wrong, but for some reason my memory is bringing me to that.
You mean like it was like a different sport game, like 2 sports packed into one?
I think so, yes. It might have been like a billiards game, maybe?
And you said that was on Xbox 360? Because the Virtua Tennis has been released on a lot of consoles.
The 360 one.
Okay. I don't remember which one we played, because I see 3 and 4. Go to shopping. Tennis. I don't know, man. It doesn't say anything about it coming with another disc.
All right. Well, man, I could totally be wrong, and I could be thinking of something totally different, but...
Yeah. Or it's possible they re-released it in, like, some compilation.
Maybe.
Huh. But yeah, man. Oh, I forgot all about that. Dude, I gotta pick up this Virtua Tennis on 360. That just... completely forgot about that game. Why do I not?
It might have been the other one I'm looking at is Top Spin. It might have been that one. There's another Xbox 360 tennis game called Top Spin.
Okay, so were you getting them confused? Have you played Virtua Tennis, or was it Topspin that you were thinking
I think
of?
I played Topspin.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder which one's better. Anyway. Okay, getting way off track, but I need to look into Virtua Tennis after this, because, man, I completely forgot about that game. Anyway, Mario Tennis is so much fun on N64. I need to get Mario Golf and Mario Tennis. Those are both classics. And, yeah, the Mario Tennis, it's more like ramped up and fast-paced. Because that game was running buttery smooth. It was just nonstop action. There's all kinds of like power shots you can do. Yeah. But anyway, have you played any of the newer Mario Tennises that came out after that? Because that was the last one I ever played, the N64 one.
I know they took a hiatus with some of them, because I don't think they had one on the GameCube. And I know they had one. There's one on the Switch. I know that for sure. And I think one on the Wii U.
There's got to be one on the Wii, because that's like the perfect console for...
I could be wrong, but I know they skipped GameCube, but they may have skipped Wii as well. Which seems like a crime, but...
Okay, so it does
Aces is the one on Switch, which Aces might have been one where they ported it over from Wii U.
Okay, so the Virtual Boy one did come out before the N64 one. Virtual Boy one came out in 1995. N64 one came out in 2000. Then there was a Game Boy Color one that came out in 2000 as well. Did you have the Game Boy Color one?
I don't think so.
Oh, I felt like I played that at your house. Maybe not. There was a GameCube one. It was Mario Power Tennis.
Oh.
Then there was a Game Boy Advance one, Nintendo 3DS one. You're right, there was no Wii one. It's probably because they already had the tennis game on Wii Sports.
Yeah.
And then it came back with Mario Tennis Ultra Smash on Wii U. And then most recently, Mario Tennis Aces on Nintendo Switch back in 2018. Correct? Okay. Interesting. Oh, was there another one on Switch?
There's Aces.
Also see Mario Golf Super Rush. I guess that's another one
that
came out.
That's the newest Mario Golf that's on Switch.
Oh, Mario Golf. I see. Okay, I'm looking at the golf game ones. All right. Anyway, so
but Mike beat me on this round of tennis.
Yeah.
It was a close match, but Mike bested me for sure.
All right. So then after that, we played Diddy Kong Racing. I don't think Swanee had Mario Kart, but he did have Diddy Kong Racing.
He probably did have Mario Kart, but I always preferred Diddy Kong Racing over Mario Kart.
Yeah, I think Diddy Kong Racing came out afterwards and was kind of an upgrade over the original Mario Kart. Although I did play a lot of Mario Kart on the original N64, but Diddy Kong Racing, man, it's just classic because you can choose between a kart, a hovercraft, right? The other one's a hovercraft, and then
a hovercraft, and then a plane,
then an airplane. Yeah, and each one kind of plays a little differently, but people can have different vehicles in the same match. Yeah, that was really fun. I crushed it on that one.
Yeah, you whooped me there. Especially when I got in the plane for the first time, I had no idea how to fly that thing. I was flying into every sort of wall you can imagine. And then here comes Mike. He's like, "Oh, give the plane a try." And he's just still cruising through levels and whooping me. And
yeah, the plane is difficult to drive, but as long as you start your turns way in advance, you got to really plan ahead with the plane. And once you get used to that, it's probably the best vehicle. All right, so we played probably the first 4 or 5 tracks on that one.
Yeah.
And then after that, now I'm kind of hazy on the order we played the stuff, but we ended up playing 2 more games. One of the other ones we played was, of course, the classic Goldeneye. And, man, I crushed it on that one too. What can I say?
There's no denying you're a better Goldeneye player than I am. That is for sure.
Yeah, but I think you
killed
said
you once.
You said when we were playing that you didn't play a whole lot of Goldeneye back in the day.
Yeah, I don't think I played as much as other people. I definitely played at friend's house, but I never owned it, I don't think. I think I would have to go over to a buddy's place in the neighborhood and play. I think I was too young. My parents wouldn't buy it for me.
Yeah, I definitely owned that one growing up, and I played that to death. Like, that's one of my greatest games of all time. Has it aged that great? No. It's kind of hard to go back to today, but man, I spent countless hours playing through the single player campaign, playing through the split screen multiplayer with all my friends. I would just go over to every one of my friends' house, bring the game if they didn't have it, because everybody I knew had a Nintendo 64. And then I would just crush everybody. I was very competitive on that one. So then after that, we played Kobe Bryant NBA Courtside 2, which, again, I played this game a ton when I was a kid. I loved this game. And, man, again, it holds up.
It was pretty good.
It's exactly what you could ask for in a basketball game.
You had some white guy that was making every freaking shot, and I could do nothing against him. I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't even remember what team I picked, but everybody, yeah, I ended up picking the good team. Do you remember what teams we played as?
No, I don't. I played as the Supersonics, I think, because I think I had Gary Payton on the team, but I can't remember who you picked for the life of me.
Yeah, I don't remember. I want to assume I picked the Atlanta Falcons, but I don't think that I did.
Atlanta Hawks?
Atlanta Hawks, sorry.
You might have. Yeah, you very well might have. Because I did not go with the Bulls, because the Bulls during that age were awful.
Yeah.
That was the post-MJ era.
Anyway, that was also a great game. Man. But yeah, in all sports games, they are totally time capsules. Because each game is just like a snapshot of the roster that year.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it was nice seeing like Gary Payton and obviously Kobe, rest in peace, and Allen Iverson and some of the guys that I grew up, got me into basketball because of a lot of these guys.
Yeah, and I think that game had a lot of fun modes. We played the what did we play? I don't know. That's like
we did the 3-point shootout.
Yeah, 3-point shootout. We did that first. That was kind of janky though.
I didn't even know how to grab the ball for half the time.
Yeah, it does not explain anything to you. And then the free throws were so hard to do. You basically have to pat your head and rub your belly at the same time. And if you can do that, you can get the free throws. And NBA Courtside too.
They made it seem like everybody who came to the free throw line was Shaquille O'Neal with how hard those free throws were. Like, it didn't matter how good the person was at free throws. It was tough.
So, and last but not least, I really wanted to play Army Men, Sarge's Heroes, but we could not get that game to work. In fact, most of these games we struggled to get to work. So I had to get a Q-tip from Swanee and then clean out the connectors on all of these cartridges.
Yeah.
And then only after doing that vigorously and then trying it over and over again would we eventually get the game to boot up. But then for some reason, Army Men Sarge's Heroes, just no matter what we did, that cartridge would just not boot. And I have that issue with the Nintendo 64 here at my house. Every time I try to play a game, it's like I have to stick the cartridge in and turn the console on and off multiple times before I get it to work. It was only after I cleaned out the connectors and the console and the cartridges would any of them work. At first, I thought I had, when I first rebought that N64, I thought I had a broken unit. And then after I cleaned everything, I eventually got it to work. And then I had a roommate for a while, and she busted out her N64 that she had tucked away for years, and she was trying to play it, and she had the same issue. It was just such a struggle to get the games to work, and I went down there and helped her clean them up, and then eventually we got them to boot. So I hate to say it, but a lot of these cartridge-based systems, the games are starting to fail.
Yeah.
I have that issue with some of my original NES games as well, that they're just so difficult to get working. And I've replaced the pin connector in the NES because half the time that's the issue. But no, it's the cartridges themselves that are failing. And as the years go by, I think just less and less of these are going to work.
And I think that's why I'm hesitant on starting a N64 collection and getting into that, because I am the type of collector, if I'm going to collect something, I want to be able to play it. And if there's risk that I'm not going to be able to play all this down the line after I, put my hard-earned money in to collect it all, that'd kind of be a bummer.
Yeah, and that's why, I'm right there with you. Like, I'm always hesitant to get cartridge-based games, especially if I'm out somewhere at like a pawn shop or some place that I know is not actually testing the stuff. It's like I don't want to pay 30, 40 or more for a game just to get it home and realize that it doesn't even work.
Right.
So, yeah, unfortunately, cartridge games, man, I think eventually we're going to get to a point to where most, if not all of these don't work anymore. I mean, we always got emulation, which is great, but there is something nice just crunching that cartridge into the N64, flipping that power switch, and then just seeing that Nintendo logo pop up in all its fuzzy low-res glory.
Mike was making fun of me as I struggled trying to do that many times while getting the games to work as we were getting ready to play some of them.
Yeah, I'll show some of the B-roll. You got it to work though, except for Army Men Sarge's Heroes. Nobody could get that one to work.
Yeah.
All right, man. It was a great jam session. I had so much fun that night, and it just reminded me how great of a party console the Nintendo 64 was, where you can just get together in person, not online multiplayer, everybody in the same room, and just competing with these great games that have gameplay that still hold up.
Totally unplanned, but yeah, thank you, Swanee, for being a gracious host and letting us play on the 64. I think you had quite a bit of fun with it too, and you were happy that we could keep you company while you wrap some gifts.
Yep. All right, Mitch, you ready to roll on to the next topic?
Let's do it.
All right, so we mentioned this on a previous episode about Mitch's year in review for his Xbox account, which if you have not watched that episode, go back and watch it, because Mitch is the upper echelon of Xbox players. I'm telling you, he's the top 5%. You don't believe us? Go back to that episode and check this man's stats. He's legit. So anyway, Steam released their year in review, and even though Mitch does the majority of his gaming on Xbox, he still plays games on Steam. I do too. Really, oftentimes I'm playing either retro consoles or I'm playing my PlayStation 4 or my PlayStation Vita. This past year, haven't spent a lot of time on Steam, but with that being said, I still think it'd be good for us to dive in and check out our Steam year in review. So Mitch, I'll let you take it away. Let's take a look at your stats, see what you played and what you did on Steam in the year 2023.
I think it's no surprise that my top game, just from sheer fact from we've talked about in past pods to the amount of hours that I have logged into this, but it does say Counter-Strike 2 on here, but Counter-Strike 2 did not come out until about halfway through the year, so it's really a combination of Counter-Strike Go and Counter-Strike 2. And that is about 45% of the time that I am on Steam. I played Counter-Strike 2. So out of all these games that I bought on Steam, obviously probably not worth as much as me playing Counter-Strike 2 for free. But another heavy hitter, which is obviously one that you have to put a lot of hours in. I'm not a huge MMORPG guy, but I did recently, this past 2 years, get into Final Fantasy Online, so Final Fantasy 14. And that is one I have some friends that I've met online that I've started playing with and got me really into it. And it's probably my favorite MMORPG to play, and I actually just resubbed recently to play a little more. Obviously, you had to grind the hours with MMORPGs, and me as a first starting this new adventure into FF14, I had a lot of story to grind, so that's the next chunk of it. So, and then another one that's least surprising of my top 3 is Marvel Snap, which I've also talked about quite a bit on this pod, as it is
215 play sessions on Marvel Snap.
So, okay, well, before we go play sessions in Marvel Snap are very, very fast. Games are within 5 minutes or less. So, while it is a lot of sessions played, and that does, I don't know if that factors in what I've played on my phone or not. So, I mean, that could be more. I don't know, but because it is also a mobile game combined with Steam. Um, but yeah, that is one I've hyped up to death for people who are card fans. I highly recommend getting into Marvel Snap. It's very early on in its life cycle, so it's easy to jump in and get some decks started without having to fork over a lot of real money into it. As far as that, though, I think we should just jump into how we compare because, as with Xbox, I compared pretty well with the Steam crowd. So they put it into three categories, one being achievements unlocked, and then they give you a median. So I unlocked 118 achievements, which, hey, me, I love getting achievements on Xbox. So if I can get them on Steam, that's awesome too. I got 118. The median is 16, which I think the medians are a little bit off base because a lot of people make multiple Steam accounts just to play, like to have an alt account on Counter-Strike, for instance, where you just, you don't play anything else but Counter-Strike on it. So I think the median's a bit off base. I think it's probably a little higher than what it's showing, but impressive nonetheless. I did spread my time out. I played 32 games on Steam. If I purchased a game on Steam, if I get something in a bundle, I usually try to give it a try at least. Even games such as My Name is Mayo that we have talked about in a Way Past pod. That is one of the worst games I've ever played, but at least gave it a try. My longest streak was 13 days, and I'm going to guess that was probably in April, because apparently April was the day I played games 24/7.
Yeah, on your Xbox year in review, it said April was your most played month. And then, here on Steam, it's saying the same thing. What was going on with April?
I don't, that's a great question. I'm not really sure. Apparently just nothing going on, no plans, just being a low-life gamer. I don't know. But yeah, I think the recent favorite section is not really that important. It's just kind of games that were released in certain periods. But the You Are What You Play, they definitely got me here because it really is. I am what I play here. It's either a card battle or an MMO or a team-based game like Counter-Strike. I mean, you really hit me to a T. That's nothing that, I mean, if you're gonna put Mitch in a bubble as far as a gamer, like they nailed it.
All right, so in this section, it says you gifted 2 games. Do you remember what 2 games you gifted to others in 2023?
I might have gifted one to cousin Drewby for his birthday, maybe. Sometimes I gift some to my buddies for their birthday or something, just fun. But yeah, I don't exactly remember which ones this time around, to be honest with you. I wonder if there's a way I could probably go back and look at that. But I think look at birthdays. My gamer friends, sometimes if there's something cool that they have on their wish list, I'll go ahead and send it to them. I also think Steam wish lists are, like the ability to gift games is pretty awesome. Xbox actually just recently added that feature as well, so I can gift my Xbox friends. So I really do like that feature, especially if people have really big wish lists and appreciate getting more games in their collection like us. There's more. So yeah, April again, as we talked about, in the number of playtime that I played Counter-Strike, April was the highest there. And then even for Marvel Snap, April was the highest. So yeah, going down, it looks like a lot of time in April and then a lot of time in January. Now is the month though, because there's after the holiday season, there's really nothing to do. It's just cold. You have seasonal depression. You just want to stay inside and play games. So I think January is a great time to game as well.
One other thing I want to highlight is 90% of your playing was played with keyboard and mouse. Only 10% was with controllers.
Yeah, obviously Counter-Strike always keyboard and mouse. You could not play that game with the controller. Final Fantasy 14, you could not play the controller. Marvel Snap, no controller. The only game I play controller really mainly is Rocket League on Steam.
All right, so looking at the 32 games you played this year on Steam, I just got a couple quick questions about some of them.
Yeah.
So there's all the ones you've already mentioned. I see you played Remnant 2. I didn't know you played that. Did you sink a lot of time in that?
Actually, that just came out the end of the year, and I just bought it to play with a couple of my buddies. My buddy Drew and I actually finished Remnant 1 a few years ago because it was on Game Pass. And then we decided, hey, Remnant 2's out. It's now, they've opened it up. It used to only be 2-player. Now you can play with 3. So my buddy Nate was like, oh, I want to try this out. So I'm like, all right, let's get Remnant 2. And it's a good co-op game for us to go and to beat some bosses. And it's kind of while it is a story, like, co-op story game, it's also a bit of a run-based game because every time you start, it's a like pre-rendered map. So you get a different map essentially every single time. You can get different bosses every time. Maybe one time a boss comes in your playthrough, but then the next time he's not there, or it's a different boss. So that it gives you a little bit of randomization, and it kind of makes it fresh. So you don't have to, you feel like you can go through it again with buddies. But I will say, I bought that game, and literally, I think 2 weeks later, it came out on Game Pass. So I was very upset about that.
Dang. All right, so the only other one I think I want to ask about is... No, there's actually a couple more. All right, next one is The Finals. I know that one just came out. A lot of people are raving about that game. Did you spend a lot of time with that? Did you like that game?
Yeah, it's kind of replaced... we're kind of been burnt out on Counter-Strike lately. With Counter-Strike 2, I feel like it's a bit... it's not in its final form yet. It's kind of in those early days of Counter-Strike Go where they need to put some updates in and make it... to make it a little better than what it is right now. So we've been taking a break from that. And the finals is really what we've been putting our competitive juices in. It's like a 3v3v3v3 like kind of like game where essentially you're supposed to cap these boxes of money, and it's basically like you get the box of money, you bring it to a point, you guard it, and if you cap it, you get the money. And if you have the most money compared to the other teams, the top 2 teams, you advance to the next round. And then just keeps going into a tournament style of there's less and less teams until it's the final 2. And then the final 2 teams battle it out to win. It's actually a really clean shooter one. They have really good, it's a really good first-person shooter. It's also a very unique concept with the whole tournament battle, style. It's different than a lot of the stuff that's been coming out with. So yeah, we've been really enjoying it so far. It's been a good time.
Nice. All right, 2 more. I see you play this game called New World. I've never even heard of that. What is that game?
Yeah, New World is the Amazon MMORPG that came out, and it was one I was like, well, I hadn't been playing Final Fantasy 14 yet, and I was like, you know what, I'll give it a go, because all you have to do is buy the game. There's no monthly subscription for it, like with the World of Warcrafts and the Final Fantasy 14s. So I'm like, if I don't like it, I want to come back, or if I want to come back to it later, there's no pressure to, be timed on any sort of monthly fee, and it's okay. It's okay.
All right, last one, Dragon's Dogma: Dark Horizon.
I haven't played much of this yet. I think I've only booted up and played a little bit of it, but I've been watching streams of it, and while this is a very old game, they're coming out with a second one here soon.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It's been a big hiatus between the first and the second, but there are a ton of streamers right now going back and playing the first one, and it really holds up and looks good, and it's one that I feel like is up my alley. I just got to start it and just keep going with it.
Got it. All right, cool, man. I think can switch over to my Steam year in review, which is
let's do it.
Not going to be anywhere near as epic because I really did not play much on Steam this year. So I only played 7 games this year on Steam, and unlike you, the majority of that was played with a controller. And my top games were Binary Domain, which I talked about on a previous episode. I played through the single player, beat it. It's a great hidden gem of a game. It's a third-person shooter where you're just shooting a bunch of robots.
Yeah, we had some good times playing that as well.
Yeah, we hopped on the multiplayer. There's like a survival mode. And man, yeah, you carried the team on that survival mode. You were pulling Hail Marys to get us through those later rounds.
I know, super hungover, just, Hail Mary and still and just shooting through those guys.
Yeah, after we played, you're like, yeah, I was hungover the whole time. I'm like, I couldn't tell. All right, so the next thing I played the most was Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, another one you and I played together and talked about earlier this year, which was good, but it's your typical kind of Ubisoft open world game.
Yeah, very repetitive, but it was solid. It was, that just wasn't worth going through the entire thing for.
Yeah. Yeah, after we cleared the first area, I kind of got the sense we had seen everything that it had to offer, that the rest of the game was just going to be rinse and repeat.
Yep.
All right, 30 unlocked achievements, nowhere near yours. I think you had like 100 and something, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. Yeah, you had 118. Whoa. Longest streak was 2 days. Just... Anyway, okay, 30% of my games played were new releases. I don't know how accurate that is. I don't think I played any new releases. All right, so here we have...
I'm not seeing any new releases on here.
Here we have your You Are What You Played. And unsurprising, it's open world. I'm surprised it's open world. That must have been a Tom Clancy, but it's zombies and gore.
That's to a T.
Yeah, that's typically what I lean towards. So let's see. Let's take a closer look at the games I played. I want to see the list of.
25 achievements on Binary Domain. You really did. You put in the time and got a lot of achievements on that one.
All right, here we go. So number 1, I played Binary Domain. Number 2 is Ghost Recon Wildlands. Call of Duty Black Ops 3. I always end up going back to that. Me and my buddies still jump in the zombies on that because that has workshop support. So you can download all kinds of custom zombie maps, and they're so creative. So my buddy and I will
worth it.
They'll just hop on and just download so many random workshop levels and try them. There's some weird stuff too, like
I might have to jump in on that with you at some point. That sounds fun.
Yeah, there's some weird themed ones. They've got some great recreations of zombie maps from other Call of Duty games. They also have like Shrek zombie map, like a Mario Bros zombie map, like a Simpsons zombie map, like all kinds of stuff.
Kind of going off topic, but it just really goes to show why Steam is just the best platform to play games on, as far as, especially on PC. There's just so much support for so many cool things.
It's endless, man. You could buy one game that has like solid workshop support, and it's just endless.
Yeah.
Speaking of, another one I played this year was Left 4 Dead 2. I finally went back and played that huge community update they released with those extra levels and scenarios, and that's another game with workshop support. Then I played Footlol and Fine China, which I think were the 2 games in my library. We had a challenge earlier on this year where we picked what games the other person was going to play, I think.
Or it was we played one...
Oh, we played the games. We had to pick games we'd never played on our Steam list before. That was it. And something we probably would never have picked. We had to find what was the least likely thing we were going to play. Yours was, I think, that My Name is Mayo.
Uh-huh.
And mine was Footlol, which was a decent little game. It was just a decent little soccer game, which is interesting because in that game, you're not directly playing as a soccer player. You're kind of just like acting as God and throwing... I don't know. I'm not gonna get into it.
It looks like you're throwing like cows and different
there's crazy stuff. You're throwing obstacles in the way of your opponent's team, and then you're throwing things at your team that would tip the game in their favor. But the game actually plays out automatically.
Okay.
And you're just trying to turn the tide. It's very over the top and crazy. And then I played Fine China, which is a VR game where you're basically like you're trying to walk through these really delicate shops, like a China shop, with a giant book bag. And the goal is to not break anything, or you can play it where you try to do as most damage as you possibly can, which
you could literally be the bull in the China shop.
Yeah, just go in there and just smashing everything. It was okay. And then last but not least, Battlefield Bad Company 2. I heard they were shutting down the online servers. and I had to get one last hoorah in before they did that. All right, man, that is our year in reviews on Steam. Hopefully this year I'll play more games on Steam. I don't know, man. Even when I play on PC, I'm either on Game Pass or I'm playing like old games where I literally own the game and installing the game from a disc, or I get a lot of my games on GOG.com because you can actually download those games and keep them forever. With Steam, I don't know. I love Steam. I'm sure Steam's always going to be around, but just something about not like actually owning the games. Like if Steam were to shut down, I'd lose my entire library, and I got hundreds of games, and I would be really pissed. But with GOG, I can download the offline installers, and I feel like I actually own the game. So more times than not, I opt to get the game from GOG first if it's available before I go to Steam to get it.
For instance, we are playing a game together on PC right now that is also not on Steam.
Exactly. See, man, it's just, I don't know. And it's an old game again. I play a lot of retro games that just aren't on Steam. Or maybe they are, I just don't have them through Steam. Because surprisingly, Steam does have a lot of old games.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man, I think that's a good segue. Speaking of owning games, we got a couple of pickups, nothing major like our holiday pickup episode previously.
No.
But
no, I can't do that.
Yeah. Mitch, what did you get? You were telling me you got something cool. I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, so the one you do know what it is, I actually bought this probably a month ago now, but I forgot to show, but I got on eBay. It is the BioShock collection. This is one of my favorite games. Actually, right behind me here is the City of Rapture, which is obviously from BioShock. So, BioShock the collection, it obviously, as we've talked about many times, we love collections, and this has BioShock 1, 2, and 3 all on one disc. And
with all the DLC,
nice.
Remastered, higher resolutions, higher frame rates, that is like the ultimate BioShock collection right there.
Yeah, it is. And I'm like, I think I might have got it free on PlayStation Plus, but right now I'm not even a PlayStation Plus subscriber. So I like playing stuff on my Xbox, as my Xbox year in review told you. So I wanted to pick it up on Xbox, and it was pretty cheap. I think it was only like $10-12.
Yeah, I picked that up I think a year or two ago at GameStop, and same here. I only paid like $11 for it. I'm like, $11 for 3 complete games, all the DLC, like, man.
Yeah, for 2 of my favorite games of all time, I could do without BioShock 3, but it's okay.
Yeah, I've only ever beaten BioShock 1 and 3. I've never played I never finished, let alone played BioShock 2. So I need to go back and play that. There's a lot of people
that I have been telling me that they've only played 1 and 3, but 2 is fantastic. You should really play 2.
Okay. Well, I got that collection, man. I need to boot up 2 then.
So we kind of lightly talked about these last week, but all right, actually to back up. So I went to a local game store today, actually, and I got in a cup of coffee before, and somebody who is recently figured out he is slightly lactose intolerant always makes sure, if I'm getting any sort of coffee with milk in it, to switch it out to oat milk typically, which I did through the app when I ordered the coffee at Dunkin'. So fast forward, I drank this whole large cup of coffee, and I decided, hey, it's a Friday. I am pretty light at work right now, or I've kind of just worked my tail off and I don't want to work right now. I'm going to go to the local game store somewhere I've never been before. It was probably about 20 minutes away with no traffic, which was nice. But it was up in the north suburbs of Chicago. And it is called Retro Dimension, Video Games and More. Great shop. I want to go back again, but unfortunately, I was only able to spend about 10 minutes in that shop because as I walked in, I could feel my stomach about to just I was ill. I was very ill, and I toughed it out because I wanted to see the shop for a little while, and I had already driven 20 minutes here to get here. I'm not turning back now. So I only got 10 minutes of viewing it, but I did pick up a couple of games. One, and we've kind of loosely talked about them. One is NHL Hits 2002. And the cool thing with this, they take care of their games, man. They put them all in these plastic wraps that I can just open up, and every game on their shelf had, if it wasn't in like a display case or something like that, every game had one of these on it, and they were all in alphabetical order. The shop is fantastic. I'm going to go back again and then ask if I can record and do some B-roll for another episode, because it's a really nice shop. It's not super big, but they fit a lot of cool stuff in there. A way better N64 selection, Mike, than you saw at Mega Replay.
Yeah. So that game, that NHL Hits, is that backwards compatible on the Xbox 360?
I'm going to guess no, but I'm going to try. And
let's see. Hold on. Xbox 360 backwards compatibility.
Regardless, I'm sure some point down the line I will get an OG Xbox again when I have more space to store stuff.
Which one is that?
2002.
Dang, 2003. You can play 2003 on Xbox 360, but it does not look like 2002 is backwards compatible.
And that was the only one I saw, so I couldn't have picked up any of the newer ones. But it's okay. It's still one that it was only $10.
Yeah.
I was like, sure. Yeah, I quickly was looking through the store, and for some reason it caught my eye as I was just randomly looking at OG Xbox games.
Nice. Yeah, dude, OG Xbox, they're crazy cheap. Nobody wants that console except me, so...
Well, the other one is very near to my heart. I've put a ton of hours into this one, too, and it's quite similar, but it is MLB Slugfest 2003.
MLB Slugfest.
You want to check if this one, it's a 2003, so maybe.
MLB Slugfest is, in fact, backwards compatible on your Xbox 360. However, there's a note that says all resolutions above 480i or 480p show no video. There's text corruption throughout the game in the menu, gameplay, pause, and other screens. So some games that are backwards compatible on the Xbox 360 do have some like minor graphical glitches. But I think all you have to do is go into the settings of your Xbox 360 and set the resolution to 480p before you launch up that game, and you should be good. Okay. And I'm assuming the text corruption they're talking about is probably pretty minor. But who knows? Maybe it looks horrible. I don't know. But
yeah, I'll give it a try and see what happens. Yeah, super cool. I mean, Alex Rodriguez chilling in his OG, after his Mariners days, but he is in his Texas Rangers getup. So,
what is
for those who don't,
what's written on it?
No manual.
Oh.
Which honestly, that's okay. I'm not. This was also $10, so I was like, you know what? They were right next to each other, like stacked in alphabetical order. I was like, I'm gonna get them both. Why not? And I was also trying to run to the bathroom and get home, so I was like, all right, I'm taking them. I'm leaving. This guy was trying to talk to me and trying to tell me, like, first time in the store, because I told him, you have a great collection of stuff, and he was ringing me up. He's like, I got to restart my system because it's not working right now.
Oh my God. Meanwhile, you got the bubble guts trying to get out of it.
I am about ready to crap myself. So I'm like, I am like, dude, you need to ring me up so I can get out of here, man. And then I had a 20-minute drive to go back home. And it was also a little bit trafficky, so it was a little more. And I was sweating by the time I got back, man. It was that bad to the point where I was fighting for my life. This is probably the hardest I've worked to try to get two $10 video games.
Okay.
But anyway, there were two ones I really wanted to show you because I know you'd appreciate them. And for those who haven't played Slugfest, or Hits for that matter, they could never come out in this day and age because it is really just beating the crap out of licensed MLB and NHL players. And you could literally just punch people off of bases in Slugfest. You could go out on the mound and fight people. Could never happen in this day and age.
Yeah. All right, man. I did pick up something myself. We've already talked about limited run games. And I love limited run games. Problem is they're limited run, so if you miss the window to order a game, usually that's it. The only way you can get those games is on the secondhand market, usually at a substantial markup. And I really like Night Dive Studios remakes of a lot of classic first-person shooters. They've actually remade a lot of classic games. I know they've done Shadow Man, Power Slave. I think that they did the System Shock remake recently too. But another
really
one they did is the Turok games from the original N64. And the Turok games are great first-person shooters, but they've aged horribly on the N64, and they run... It's such a low frame rate. I mean, it's like headache-inducing. So Night Dive Studios completely overhauled those games for modern consoles, and they upgraded the graphics, they upgraded the frame rate, the gameplay somewhat. They just refined them to be the best that they could be. They did an amazing job. They originally released the first 2 games, and then just recently they finally remastered and re-released the 3rd game. But the first 2 games were published by Limited Run Games. And I did not find out about that till long after the game had been published and they sent out all the copies and they had closed the ordering for it. And on eBay, secondhand copies were just way too expensive. Well, out of nowhere, around the holidays, Limited Run Games apparently were losing the license to some games that they had previously released. So I don't know if they printed some additional copies while they still had the license to kind of sell off while they still had the opportunity to do so, because the Turok games have been sold out on their website for the longest. And then all of a sudden, now that they're losing the license, they had copies that they were selling. And then each day that they were selling it, it was going down in price, discounted by 10%. And but it's kind of a fine balance, because it's possible they could sell out before they got to the bottom discount amount that they were going to sell them for. But anyway, I jumped at that opportunity because I've had these Turok games sitting on my wish list on eBay forever, but I just couldn't pull the trigger because I was not about to pay some secondhand price. But it comes in this cool,
so cool,
a slip cover. And I like how on the front it looks like the N64 cartridges for the original game.
Yeah, that's so sick.
And then inside it, man, it's a 2-pack. Comes with Turok 1 and Turok 2, the remasters.
That's sick.
And Night Dive, they always do a good job of doing releases, because a lot of modern PlayStation 4 games don't come with manuals. But Night Dive Studio, they go all out. They make sure their games have manuals. These ones actually have some cool anecdotes from the original developer. Some of the original developers that worked on the game, as well as some of the developers that worked on these remasters. And I just couldn't... I hate to say it, as much as we talked up the N64, there are some games that just run like crap on the N64, and just... Turok is not a game I could go back to on the N64. So the fact that these were re-released, I can play them on my PlayStation 4... 1080p or 1440p resolution, 60 frames per second, and then just better modern controls. It was awesome, man. I think with shipping and everything, it was just shy of $50, so essentially like $25 a pop. And you can get these games on GOG.com or Steam for as low as like $2 or $3, I think, when they go on sale. But definitely wanted to pick up a physical copy. I'm hoping and praying that Limited Run Games also releases a physical edition of the 3rd game, so that I can have all 3 of the trilogy remastered on PlayStation 4, but that remains to be seen. I've started playing Turok 1, and man, just it runs buttery smooth. That game's great. Another one that aged well gameplay-wise, but just not so much in how it ran on the original N64.
I always forget about Limited Run until you bring it up, and I looked at their site, and I'm glad there's nothing there that I want right now, because I probably would have pulled the trigger. But I definitely just favorited it, and I'm gonna take a look. Mike did, as we talked about in a past pod, get me a Limited Run version of Persona 4 Golden, which I'm excited to eventually get when they do ship it. Which is good, Mike, because it is falling off of Game Pass, I did see. So it's going to be perfect for when I have the disc. Don't have to worry about it being on Game Pass.
Yeah, absolutely. I got another. Actually, I have another limited run game coming my way the next couple of days. So everybody will just have to stay tuned to see what I picked up.
I've been trying to pick up not limited run games, but you know how Square Enix sometimes does it, where they will do a limited distribution of physical games, and they did one for Final Fantasy. It's called the Final Fantasy Pixel Collection, or Pixel
I heard about
Remaster Collection, and it's Final Fantasy 1 through 6. And I want to get it for my Nintendo Switch really bad, but I've been perusing eBay, and I've not been able to see it for under $100. So.
Yeah, I think there was something real janked up with that release where it ended up being way more limited than people hoped for. And that's a collection a lot of people want because it's all the original games, like remastered with newer pixel art. So yeah, that'd be a good collection to have.
Yeah, I'll pull the trigger eventually, but again, I'm in no rush. I'll wait for the right price.
Yeah, you might get lucky, man, like I did. I held out and got these Turok games for a much more reasonable price than what they were going for on the secondhand market. Anyway, I think that about wraps it up. Mitch, got anything else you want to cover?
No, great episode. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yep. You can find all our episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Mitch, where else are we at?
Yep, you can find us on our Twitter at Hills Are Silent. Our Instagram is Instagram.com/Hills Are Silent. Our TikTok is at Hills Are Silent, The Hills Are Silent Podcast. Our YouTube is at The Hills Are Silent. If you have any questions, comments, anything at all, hit us up on our email inbox, hillsaresilent@gmail.com, and we will catch you on the next episode.